Yes, that is true. But it is also so much more. It is a shared stage where we can come together, where the voices, dreams, leadership, thought, and strategies of Afro-descendant women from around the world converge. It is a platform to strengthen our local, regional, and international actions in defense of our rights, our bodies, our territories, and our epistemologies. It is a celebration of all that we are and all that is yet to come. Throughout the day, we will engage in deep dialogues on political participation, peace building, ethno-racial and gender justice, economics, science, culture, memory, and ancestral knowledge. We will also have artistic spaces, entrepreneurship circuits, storytelling journeys, and creative expressions, because our struggles are also joy, beauty, power, and community. This gathering also marks the launch of a global network of African, Afro-descendant, and diaspora women, a collective effort that transcends borders to connect leadership, causes, and resistance. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all who made this event possible through tireless work. Thank you to every woman, every girl, every collective, every organization, every movement, and every state committed to the dignity of Afro-descendant women and girls. Today, we not only commemorate our struggles as Afro-descendant women, we organize, we name ourselves, we embrace one another, and we envision our future. Welcome all. The gathering begins. To begin this historic day, I invite you to open your hearts, open your senses, to receive a performance that calls upon memory, pedagogy, and committed art. We now present the theater production, An Inventory Line. An Inventory Line is a moving and powerful play born from the research project Enslavement and Other Forms of Racial Oppression in the History of Universidad del Rosario. Archive and memorial processes developed by the Afro-Descendant Studies Research Group of that university under the guidance of Professors Diana Angulo and Bastien Bosa. This performance was made possible thanks to the support of the Docu Art Project of the Rosario Historical Archive and the Office of Innovation. It represents an ethical, aesthetic, and pedagogical effort to transform the archive into living memory. The play weaves dance, music, acting, and video as narrative languages to offer a sensitive and intimate experience of the fragmented lives of individuals who were enslaved by Cloister of Our Lady of the Rosary between 1667 and 1826. Maria Luisa, Antonio, Maria Matamba, José del Rosario, Josefa, Agustín, Ana Maria Cuellar, José Tomás, Maria Josefa Santos, and Micaela. Through art, their names, stories, and dignity are brought back to the heart of this narrative. An inventory line has been featured in various academic venues. In 2023, it opened the first encounter of contemporary art and archives of the African diaspora at Universidad del Rosario. In 2024, it was a central part of the commemoration of the abolition of Slavery Month at Universidad Externado de Colombia, and was also presented at Harvard University before scholars at the Afro-Latin American Research Institute, ALARI, for its acronym in English, directed by Professor Alejandro de la Fuente. This play represents an innovative intersection of art, archives, and historical justice. It stands as a symbol and poetic act of historical reparation. Directed by Catalina Mosquera and Julian Diaz from the theater company Diocaju, Generación Arte Afro, it pioneers the use of dramatic arts to portray research processes about the legacy of enslavement in Colombia. Today, for the first time, it takes the stage as part of the Commemoration Day of Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latin, and Diaspora women. With our deepest respect, memory, and emotion, we invite you to welcome, with a big round of applause, the Ocaju Generación Arte Afro and the Play and Inventory line.
wishing, because I had the hope that I was going to be able to help my uncles, but it was just impossible to come out of that system that we were serving under. You did what you could. Yes, my wife. You did what you could, my husband. What is this and what is this? Kills our freedom. Well, I decided to stay beside you and our two beautiful kids over here. And this is what happened to Jose del Rosario, slave, and Josefa, his wife, now free. But it was a freedom that was not true. It was a paper freedom only. What good is it to be free if you cannot live properly? If you're still living in a slavist hacienda, and whenever you go out, it's the only time you can say free. Yeah, there were moments where we could feel happily, freely moving and working together. We danced together in the peace of thinking that we were going to be truly free. Still, all of that became so hard and so unreal when you have your husband enslaved, all your peers in submission under the control of others to decide. And you feel that this is not going to change ever. And you feel that this is going to be the same for you, for me, and for our beautiful children. What sense does it have? And one wonders, what does it matter if you're free or not if you can't do what you want? What do you say? What good is it being free if you can't do what you want? Because being free is even more than just doing what you want at a given moment. It's about taking your own decisions, of course. For example, if I want to jump right now, well, I will jump. And if I want to remain still, well, I shall remain still. That is being free. And of course, the real question becomes then, are you truly free? When negotiating with a person that is receiving this type of news, and it's not easy to hear what you're telling me. It's a human being that was enslaved, and with an individual being treated like a thing. So stop recording. Yeah, give me a second here. I agree entirely with you. Just give me a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. And yeah, I'm sorry once again. Let's redo it. I turned it off now. It's just a habit. And the thing is, I received this horrible news that's got me on my nerves that this person that had been treating like a thing, like an object, with a great need to escape, to free himself, and right now is an inhospitable jungle suffering who knows what perils, with the consequences on his existence that might result in any unbearable situation. But Augustine, this person, and this was the name of this enslaved person that made a decision of emancipating himself. And if you feel that any circumstance has got you enslaved, well, release yourself. Free yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, young ladies, them all genders, with you, I leave you with this. You should have seen yourselves like me. You should have been doing like me. Da, 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 da. You, my people, should have been going like I was going. On the 28th of May of 1761. Yeah. I took the decision on that day of emancipating myself. I took the decision of leaving that prison. I'm a free soul from now on. I'm a free soul from now on. And that night was the night hardest in my life, the darkest in my life, but I was able to leave, to escape, and to run. I ran. That's what I did, I ran. I ran for my freedom. I ran, and I ran until my legs were going to explode, and I ran. I ran. I ran, I ran, I ran. I ran, I ran. When I look back, I realized that those devils were following me. And those devils came with their weapons behind me, and those weapons had their dogs with them. Evil dogs, loud dogs, killer dogs they had and wanted to catch us again. Grab us, kill us, hang us, cut us to pieces. So I ran. Hasta aquí. Until the moment came. Silence. Because just for one moment, I realized that nobody else was following me anymore. It was the most terrifying day of my whole life. The most terrifying day in my existence for me. Augustine became also the most beautiful day as well. As I realized that after everything, finally I was truly free. Free, I say. Free soul. As I came to this world, I won't tell you everything was perfect. There were complications. They were always trying to find us again. They always wanted to hunt us, to return us to their haciendas, to take us back and hang us and mistreat us and beat us. It wasn't easy. And sometimes the food was scarce and complicated, but that mattered not, because I know that you will agree with me in saying that it doesn't matter what sacrifice you had to do ever, because at least we had the most important thing, which is we had us. We had freedom. This is what we had. That was, we were free souls now. And if you agree with being free, you should scream. Free. 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 Free, free, free. Yes, freedom. 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 Freedom, and good morning, everybody. All right, raise your hand. Whenever I say cimarrona.
¡Cimarrona! ¡Cimarrona! Muy bien, mi nombre es Catalina
Very well. My name is Catalina Mosquera, a black woman, and I'm here with my daughter. Good morning. My name is Oro Diaz Mosquera. We are very grateful to be able to be here because we know that in your processes, just like ourselves and ours, what we want is to transform this world from all sorts of oppression, all sorts of systematic and everyday violence that is preventing us from being. That is why, with our heart fully willing, and that is why, until dignity becomes something normal, until dignity is something that we have every day, something that is common. Very well. So in this daily form of acting, that is what it is. We have faced a lot of challenges. And in this production inventory line, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Ana Maria Cuellar.
¿Cómo lo escuchas? Huir, fugar, volar, buscando la libertad. Ana María Cuellar me llamo.
My name is Ana Maria Cuellar. I am Ana Maria Cuellar. Ana Maria Cuellar is my name. I am Ana Maria Cuellar. And just like Agustin, I'm also trying to find freedom. And I was enslaved in the cloister just like everybody else.
¿Cómo lo escuchas?
To flee, to run away, to fly. Searching for freedom. One day, I ran away. It was nighttime, and I was tired of being at the cloister, losing that feeling of freedom on my skin, and I left as a maroon. 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 Free maroon. Free maroon.
¿Cómo lo escuchas?
Exactly like that. To run, to flee, to fly. Searching for freedom. Free maroon. A free maroon.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody, hello. Okay, yo creo que usted...
I think that you're not understanding. Who am I? Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for me. I am a superstar, okay? I am the owner of the auction. So everyone welcome me just like I deserve. Round of applause. Fantastic. Everyone, please light up your phones. I need light, please, very quickly. Light for me, please. There you go. Now everyone, lights. More and more light. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say fire, you say burn. Fire, burn. If I say fire, you say burn. Fire, burn, fire. Let all of you be welcome to this great annual auction. Today, we have wonderful elements of contemporary stupidity. We will be auctioning some wonderful parallels. We will start with our black shoe polish. That will make us shine. This black shoe polish will let us stand out. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our great auction with 5,000 pesos. 10,000? Very well. Stop. 1 second, please. Just very quickly, please. Makeup, please. $50,000. Do I hear 50,000? 70,000? Very good. Sold for 70,000 pesos. I would like to see all lights shining upwards, please. Everyone, turn it to the right. Turn them to the left, please. Turn them around in circles. Now we have our second great producer, a genius of ridiculousness, ethnic ridiculousness. With us, Michoacán Amita. With all of you, my chocolate bonbon. 1,000 nights without sleeping.
Okay, vamos a empezar la subasta.
We will now start our auction of this disgusting ethnic ridiculousness with 80,000 pesos. Do I hear 90? Very well. What about over here? 90,000. 120. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing else left to say. Lights up, please. Lights up. Towards the right. Towards the left. To the right, to the left. Up, down, to the right, to the left. Up, down, to the right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sold to this lady for 90,000 pesos. Round of applause, please. Now, please put your phones away. Now we have the most important moment. The moment that we have all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the enslaved people. Take out your checkbooks. Take out your credit cards or debit cards. Take out any form of payment that you have. A 21-year-old woman, full of life. 40 pesos. Do I hear any more? Oh, silence. Silence. Her daughter, 11 years old. 20 pesos. Do I hear any more?
Nada, silencio. Ese niño.
That child, 4 years old, 10 pesos.
¿Quién da más?
Do I hear any more? I am that child. Tomás is my name. Nobody can imagine everything that my mother had to do to keep us together, because those people wanted to dismember us. They wanted to separate us. They wanted to sell us separately. They wanted to sell us as things. Just like you sell a mantelpiece, a chair, just like you sell a knife. And my mother fought and fought and fought all by herself to keep us from being dislocated, to keep us from being dismembered. Nobody can imagine what she had to live. Nobody can imagine what she had to suffer. People. When did anybody come up with the idea of putting a price on life? When did somebody think about such a monstrous situation? Life is sacred, and dignity does not have a price.
A mí sí me separaron de mi madre Teresa y de mis hermanos.
Fueron
Yo me
muchas.
llamo María Josefa. Yo era la niña que aparece aquí. En 1786, cuando tenía 8 años, la dueña de mi madre se murió. Y nosotros, con mi mamá y mis hermanos, estábamos en...
With my siblings and my mother, we were part of a list, the goods that were going to be distributed. With my sister, Gertrudis, we were separated from my mother. We were taken to the home of the lady's son. My sister and I were inseparable. We spent every moment of our lives together. It was such beautiful love. But after this, we knew that we could be separated at any moment, and that is what happened. This man decided to keep my sister Gertrudis and sold me to Mr. Antonio Nariño. Yes, you heard that well. The same Antonio that has translated and printed the Declaration of Human Rights.
Quisiera hacer
I would like to do something to repair these injustices. I would like to do something to repair these actions. I would like to do something
para sanar
to heal all that we have lived. I would like to do something, because so far, the only people that have been receiving any sort of severance are those enslaving others. The only people that have been compensated are the oppressors. I, Micaela, and am deeply grateful wherever you are and wherever they are. I thank the researchers because these files did not have my name. I was called La Mogollona. La Mogollona. I was born as an enslaved person, and step by step, I saved to be able to find my freedom because I thought that if I was free, it would be completely different. But I found myself in Bogotá. And I came across soldiers, authorities that referred to me as a woman that came from a negative place. I have nothing against these women. I think that they have more dignity.
Massacras, que es
I think they're even more sacred than those men who feel that they're honored and that have blue blood. If you would like to know about us, you will not find this in the files because those files do not express who I am. They do not express what I felt. They do not express what I lived. That is why we demand full reparation for our injustices, for our pain, our silence. We demand full reparation for our pain, for our injustices, and for our silence. We demand full and total reparation for our pain, for our injustices, and for our silence. We demand total reparation for our pain, our injustices, our silence. We demand total reparation. We are thankful for the pain, for the struggles, and the vindications of Black people who lived in slavery. To never be forgotten. We are grateful for being able to dream without chains. We are grateful because that is why we're here. Never again.
Fuerte el aplauso por la
A big round of applause for dignity.
Yo les invito a que
I now invite you to maintain this very big round of applause for this group that has really touched us.
nuestro agradecimiento, por supuesto, al colectivo.
Many thanks to the Diokaju Arte Afro Collective, to its directors, and to each actor and actress who have moved us with this performance. Thank you for reminding us that art is also a tool for resistance and collective healing. We will now formally start this gathering that brings us together, this space where we will discuss and reflect together for the restoration of our dignity. I would like to invite you to please stand up to sing the national anthem of the Republic of Colombia.
Les invitamos a tomar asiento.
Please take your seats. Something that us Black women, Balenquera women, and women from the diaspora is about weaving and building together. And that is why we have the honor of hearing opening remarks from a key ally on this path that has led us to be here together in this gathering for the restoration of dignity. That ally is Universidad Libre, Valle de Lille campus. So I would like to welcome to the stage Dr. Adela Parra Romero, Director of Research and represents Universidad Libre, Valle de Lille campus, which is committed to racial justice and the full recognition of the rights of Afro-descendant communities. Welcome, Dr. Parra. Good morning, everyone. Special greetings to my fellow colleagues who will be sharing opening words. Dr. Joana Caicedo Sinisterra, Donatella Castaño, Pablo Javier Lara, delegate of the representative, deputy of the representative of the UN in Colombia, and of course, Francia Elena Marquez. It is a real honor for us to have her here with us today. And Dr. Joana Caicedo from Peace Secretariat's office, thank you very much for being here. And all those who are here with us today, all the girls, women, female leaders, and those who accompany us in this journey, authorities, guests, students, and all of the community. My name is Adela Parra Romero, Research Director of Universidad Libre, and I am here today. I have the honor of opening up this space on behalf of our principal, Diana Milena Martinez Buitrago, who unfortunately could not be with us today, but sends her greetings and wishes us to have a successful event. For Universidad Libre, it is an honor to be able to have this international event at our campus, together for the restoration of our dignity that commemorates the International Day of Women and Girls of African Descent, where we will be covering urgent matters related to racial justice, ethnic and gender justice as well. We are very excited to be able to have you here with us today at the university to share this very important moment for you, for humanity, and for our country. We enthusiastically welcome all the delegates of all the international entities, Madam Vice President Francia Marquez, who has been the main promoter of this event, local and regional authorities, and very specially so, all the leaders, women and girls of African descent. A round of applause for them, please. This gathering allows us to offer homage to that struggle and resistance of women and girls of African descent that have faced and continue to face meaningful challenges in the search for equality, dignity, and justice. Today we honor their journey, their contribution, and their legacy towards transformation of society. In this event, the different participants will invite us to reflect about the importance of gender equality and racial justice, and we will go deeper into the actions that we can take as civil society and the state to promote inclusion and the empowerment of girls and Afro-descendant women of African descent. We thank all the participants for being committed to this very important cause, and I am sure that this space will be very valuable to reflect, have dialogue, and action. Welcome everyone to your home, Universidad Libre, and that is a very good name for it, Libre, which means freedom. So without further ado, I welcome everyone, and we are honored to have you here today. I hope that this will be a great event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parra, for your welcoming words. And of course, our Thank you to Rector Diana Marcela Buitrago for opening the doors of this venue to let us have this great event to about our history and think about our future. Now I want Dr. Joana Caicedo, Secretary of Peace from the Alejandro Eder Mayor's Municipal Mayor, to come on stage to talk to us about. Dr. Joana, the floor is yours. Oh, good morning, each and every one of you, especially the Libre University and Maria Inés San Clemente, UN Women, Pablo Javier Laura, from the UN Fund for UNFPA in Colombia, Francia Elena Marquez, our Vice President of Colombia. Stay, thank you. I want to say that for me this is not just an ordinary event, as this is a space that can let me speak from the deepest part of my soul, because as you, I come from a region where being Afro-descendant woman, and being a black woman means that you have to open your path with dignity, even though the world is shutting all doors in front of you. So today, and not just as the example of Joana Caicedo, but also Secretary of Peace and a citizen's culture, it's about setting an example for others to transform our future and understand that we're walking together. The slogan of restoring our dignity is not just a slogan, it's a life cause, reminding us that our dignity is taken away from us so many times, but never lost entirely, because it's in our skin, it's in our hair line, it's in our voice, it's whenever we replicate one of the stories from our ancestors. And it's about all the young women of African descent that deserve to dream in the same way. And from the administration of our current mayor, Alejandro Eder, we believe that the city of Cali is a place that should be fitting for all these type of gatherings and events, to make visible and celebrate the greatness of its Afro-descendant women. This is why this event not only is about accompanying each other, but we embrace it fully, as we know that peace and coexistence and citizenship culture needs to be accompanied by our voices and made stronger. I tell you from the bottom of my heart, let's continue together in this path and raising our voices for all of those of us came before us, all of those that will come in the future and need to say, this is my space, this is my time. And I want to take the opportunity to tell our Vice President, Francia, that I feel so greatly for what you're suffering right now. This shouldn't be happening anymore. And I would say, I would make a call in for all of us that political issues cannot dehumanize and cannot threaten us. We need to embrace each other. So we accompany you, and let's keep building together. Thank you very much. You're not alone. You are not alone. I want to thank Dr. Joana Caicedo Sinisterra, Secretary of Peace and Culture of the Mayor's Office of Cali. And now I want to ask Dr. Durani Ordóñez, she's for Women, Equity, Gender Equality and Sexual Diversity, from the Governor's Office of this state of Valle del Cauca, who salutes us on behalf of the Governor of this state, Mrs. Dilian Francisca Toro. As this is a state of great cultural and ethnical diversity, and Jurani Andrea, that's fighting for the rights of women in the state. You have the floor, ma'am. Well, good morning, everybody, today. Special greetings to our Vice President of Colombia, Dr. Francia Marquez. Vice President, you are a leader women that's a symbol of struggle, dignity, and the hope for women in this country. And of course, very special greetings to all Afro-descendant women from different regions and territories of the world that have come here today to accompany us, and a very special greeting to women of this state of Valle del Cauca that with strength and resilience have written the history of this state. Today, from this region of diversity, deeply proud of its Afro roots and origins, on behalf of our governor, Dilian Francisca Toro, give you the warmest welcome with our open heart, because this region of Valle del Cauca does not only have an Afro heritage, it is the territory and region of Afro, Raizal, and Palenquero women alike, and especially powerful women that are trying to develop a different type of history for the generations to follow. And the declaration of 25th of June as International Day of Afro-descendant women and girls is historical, but also an urgent calling to action. On the institutional front, the government actions needed, and by the ordinary citizens as well. This is not just about recognizing this idea, it's also necessary to have public policy that can frame, that can include and be applicable to absolutely all women. It is necessary to have greater social investment, but the most important thing is to have a transformation from the deepest threads of society, and that is our calling. This is our calling to walk together, to do it together, to follow the same path. And from the governor's office, we ratify our own commitment for dignity, to have access to the different services that justify and that make possible to have a basic life through education and health services, and especially that political participation that makes us freer as well and can bring more and more women in our state, making visible those elements that have not been present at all, that have been trampled in their rights. And I can tell you on behalf of our governor, Dilian Francisco Toro, that all of you are so welcome here to exchange knowledge, to listen to each other, but especially to take actions, to continue walking hand in hand together, to make ourselves be felt and others understand in ourselves that we can make this together. And our thank yous, of course, Ms. Andrea Ordoñez, representative of the Governor's Office of the state of Valle del Cauca. Now we'll continue with the key voice in this global agenda for the rights of women and Afro-descendant women as well. I want to invite to our stage Maria Inés Salamanca Vidac, Deputy Representative of UN Women in Colombia. You have the floor. Good morning to everybody attending today. I would start by saluting Mrs. Francia Marquez Mina, Vice President of the Republic of Colombia, and recognize all your work and the fact that you're having and commemorating this International Day of Women and Girls of African descent. You're an inspiration for millions of women, and I also want to salute all the institutions and the Libre University, the UNFPA in Colombia, also the director of the Ibero-American Organization of Ibero-American States, OEI, and all of those of you attending today. But I would start recognizing all the Black Afro-descendant women that are here today. Of course, the Vice President, social leader an environmental leader, and today holding the office of the Vice President of Colombia, but representing all women that have crossed those borders and boundaries and that try to connect through collective strength and that Afro-Colombian unity from your community. And I thank you to have this space to call upon and recognize and make louder the voices of women and girls of African descent in Colombia. I think you have shown us that resistance is also a joy, that policy can also be made with drums, with cradling others, and with living poetry. You have showed us that taking care of others and dignity are basic principles, that there's no feminism without anti-racism, that there's no possible future without justice for Afro-descendant women. Your leadership is transformative in defending the specific regions of Colombia and the peace and life in these territories. You have broken that long-lasting silence and represented the struggle of whole communities that let us advance with greater clarity. This year, we commemorate for the first time since it was approved in the United Nations, the International Day of Afro-descendant women and girls as a global day to commemorate. And that's thanks in part to the good works of the Vice President. But now, as we saw in this stage play before, all of this started in 1932, where Santo Domingo and over 132 women from over so many countries in Latin America, over 30 countries came together to talk about discrimination, racism, and gender-based violence. Also, in the peace processes, Afro women have raised their voice as mediators, peacekeepers, and community weavers or constructors. Their effort has been critical to turn peace into truth and to ensure the rights of their communities. Without a doubt, recognizing this construction in favor of peace allows to understanding what has the roles and the visibilization that have been neglected through history. And in UN Women, we want to have an anti-racist approach working in our programs so that Afro-descendant women are visible, and we have more and more women following this path. We will also accompany a gender-based approach, an ethnical approach in your peace accords and implementation of them 1325, so that your path can continue opening and treading path for others and that path for greater dignity for all. Thank you very much.
Nuestro agradecimiento por
Thank you very much, Maria Inés, for your very powerful words and your firm commitment to the rights of women and girls of African descent. We now have the opening remarks of another person who is committed to educational and cultural transformation in Iberoamerica. I would like to invite Donatella Montaldo up on stage, Director of the OEI. Donatella, welcome.
Buenos días, señora vicepresidenta.
Good morning, Madam Vice President of the Republic of Colombia, Francia Marquez, Director of Research and Delegate of the President of the Universidad Libre, Deputy Representative of UN Women in Colombia, Maria Inés Salamanca, Delegate of the Resident Representative of the United Nations Population Fund in Colombia, Paulo Javier Lara, Secretary of Ethics Affairs of Government of Valle del Cauca, Andrea Ordóñez, women and girls who are participating today, everyone, on behalf of the General Secretariat of the OEI, Mariano Javionero, and in my name as well, I would like to warmly greet all of you. As the director of the organization, it is an honor for me to share this space with you, this international gathering together for the restoration of our dignity. It is such an important space that is necessary to be able to build a fair and equitable society for girls and women of African descent in Colombia. Dr. Kimberly Krishu spoke for the first time about the multiple vulnerations and discriminations that are faced by Black women, and she took on the term intersectionality to talk about the interactions that deepen inequalities that are specially tied to the categories related to race, gender, and socioeconomic level. Understanding this, intersectionality becomes an important tool for action through the definition of social policies that are inclusive and equitable. It is precisely today, when we're celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls of African Descent, when it is so relevant to discuss these topics, to recognize that those continuous struggles and the resistance of Afro-descendant peoples are not history. They have now gotten more meaning when really practicing rights, and there is an effective enjoyment of these rights, which is the human mandate. We need to make the defense of human rights of women and girls of African descent a priority, which also contributes to revitalizing culture. Therefore, it really enroots strengthening their identity and caring for our ancestral territories. Women and girls of African descent, as I have mentioned, suffer multiple inequalities, most likely more than many other women. Let's make this the opportunity to contribute from multilateral cooperation to closing these gaps and mitigating the access barriers to equitable opportunities, to the enjoyment of rights and freedoms, and all forms of equality. Substantive equality of Afro-descendant girls and women is a bet on social cohesion, cohesion that weaves meaning and sense of belonging, that really sets those roots and invites that collection amongst all of us that promotes protection and care amongst each other, and it elevates well-being for everyone. I would finally like to invite all those girls and women who are here to continue being active, transforming realities, and you have our support from the OEI. We must always continue and not desist, and we must resist. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very enriching session.
Muchísimas gracias, Donatella, por sus palabras.
Thank you very much, Donatella, for your kind words and for the commitment that OEI has with education, culture, and social justice as pathways to restore the dignity of our peoples. We now have another key ally in this agenda for justice and dignity. We have the Population Fund of the UN, UNFPA, which works on sexual, reproductive, and health rights for the population of girls and boys throughout the world. That is why I would like to invite the delegate of the resident representative of this fund, Pablo Javier Lara Amaya, who we are grateful for having here today. Good morning. Special greetings to our Vice President, Dr. Francia Marquez Mina. All those who spoke before me, my colleagues from the OEI, UN Women, the Governor's Office, the Mayor's Office, but I would like to especially greet all those girls that I see here in front of the stage, women of African descent, and all those who are joining us today. On behalf of the representative of the United Nations Population Fund, Luis Mora, we would like to thank the Vice President and all of her team that have made this event possible. We are fully honored to be able to be part of this in the framework of the International Day for Women and Girls of African Descent. It is an international day that the General Assembly of the UN stated through Resolution 78-323 of 2024, under the motto, Afro-Descendants, Recognition, Justice, and Development, and that has significantly, meaningfully contributed to applying this action program of Durban, establishing a global platform to honor the story, culture, and the important contributions that women and Afro-descendant girls have made to the development of society throughout the world. This idea also recognizes the constant efforts to combat discrimination due to gender, ethnicity, racial, and socioeconomic conditions. I would like to pause here because it is important to remember that the resolution had Colombia as one of the main promoters with the leadership of our Vice President, Brazil, and African countries. Its leadership has guaranteed that the experiences and the achievements of Afro-descendant girls and women are recognized and celebrated at a global level. The resolution called upon all the member states, the UN organizations, and civil society to actively commemorate this day through the promotion of events and activities that give a voice to women and girls, such as what we are experiencing today in Cali. It also emphasizes the need of specific actions to be able to avoid racial and gender discrimination, guaranteeing that women and girls can participate fully in all aspects related to civil society, where they continue to face wide socioeconomic gaps, discrimination, higher levels of poverty, and gender-based violence. This is how 1 out of every 4 victims of sexual violence within Colombia's conflict were women, girls, and adolescents of African descent. My second message is that we would like to highlight that gap that exists, even though in the last 25 years there have been significant progress in statistical operations promoted by Afro-descendant communities and organizations. There is still a lot of information that is lacking. And this management of data does not only limit the formulation of evidence-based policies, but it also reinforces stereotypes and prejudice that perpetuate discrimination and social exclusion. It is a challenge for states, for institutions, to be able to bring in official statistics, and it requires sustained political will for significant investment at a technical and financial level, as well as with human resources. From UNFPA, we reiterate our commitment to continue improving the data management of all these women and girls of African descent to be considered in political decisions that allow overcoming inequality gaps. Thank you for promoting this space for commemorating, having dialogue, and for commitment with racial justice and gender equality. From UNFPA Colombia, we reiterate our admiration and support, and we celebrate this joint effort so that no woman and girl of African descent is left behind. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much to the delegate of the resident representative of UNFPA for his kind words and commitment for the work in pro of rights of women and girls of African descent. And now, with my heart full of joy, I would like to invite you all to welcome a woman that has really marked a before and after in the political history of our country. We invite up on stage Dr. Francia Elena Marquez Mina, Vice President of the Republic of Colombia. the first Afro-descendant woman in holding this position in over more than 200 years of Republican life, social leader and environmental leader, defender of life and territories and peoples that have been historically excluded. The Vice President of the people. She comes from the rivers and from those struggles, from collective dignity. And today, she honors us with her presence and with her remarks in this event that is also the result of her journey, her voice, and her deep conviction for a Colombia that is fair, equitable, and more full of repair. Big round of applause for the Vice President of the Republic of Colombia.
Bueno,
Well, wow. I would like, before I start, to invite the whole team of the Office of the Vice President, all the women and the people who have supported me and the organization of this important event to come up on stage, please. A round of applause for them.
las espero. Les dije que se prepararan. ¿Faltan?
Is anyone missing? Oh yeah, well I'm sure some of them are still running around, but I would like to ask you for a round of applause for all those women. They have been working for days and weeks. There are also men on the team, of course, but as today is a day for women, I would like to honor those women on our team especially. They've been working so hard to make this happen. They have been sleep deprived for several days now, and so I really wanted to ask you for a round of applause for them. Thank you very much.
Un saludo.
Special greetings to the leaders, young women, mayoras, community mothers, international and national panelists, representatives of different associations and academic and activist organizations from the Afro-Colombian communities, people of African descent, indigenous, raizales, palenqueros, Rom, people with disabilities, LGBTIQ+. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Very special greetings to the Minister of State and Minister of the Environment of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Minister Eve Basaiba Masudi. Let me tell you that this woman, during COP16 on biodiversity, built a strong partnership, and it was thanks to her efforts and those of other women that people of African descent were formally recognized in the UN Convention on Biodiversity, as well as their contribution in the protection of our planet. I would like to also greet a woman who opened the door that allows me to be here today, the one who was the first, and I said, if she can, then I can. The former Vice President of Costa Rica, Epsi Campbell. I would like to greet very especially the Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Mrs. Chantal Chambu Muavita. Of course, greetings to the former federal representative of the state of Guerrero in Mexico, Teresa Mujica Munga. The former chairwoman of the Permanent Forum of the United Nations for People of African Descent, Dr. June Sumer. To the Joint Representative of UN Women in Colombia, Mrs. Maria Inés Salamanca. I'd like to greet a woman who, even though she didn't know we existed, was nonetheless an inspiration many years back for women of the north of Cauca, my home region, who fought for the defense of their territory and life. And today she is Nobel Prize for Peace. She was awarded that prize in 2011. She is an activist from Liberia, defending rights for peace, defending the rights of women, Mrs. Lima Roberta Bowie. Thank you so much for being an inspiration for all of us. Let me also greet the director of the Organization of Ibero-American States, Mrs. Donatella Montaldo. The Director of Policy and Programs of the Women's Funding Program from Brazil, Mrs. Meira Begeli. The Director of the Program for Culture and Community Development of the Office of Communication and Historical Reparations Commissions of CARICOM, Hillary Brown. To the coordinator of the first study on Afro-descendant entrepreneurships in Latin America, Feira Preta Museu da Favela, Mrs. Daniela Almeida from Brazil. To the representative of the Secretary General of the Organization of Caribbean States from Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Natasha. I'd like to greet an activist, a philosopher, an academic, a legendary one at that, from the United States, Angela Davis. Greetings also to Congresswoman from Ecuador, Paola Cabezas. Greeting as well to the academic and professor of the University of California in Santa Cruz in the United States, Gina Dent. Greetings as well to Professor, Sociology Researcher, and Afro-American Studies Researcher, Mrs. Diana Pachel. Greetings to filmmaker and journalist from France, Rokhaya Diallo. Greetings to the Advisor of Population and Development and the Delegate of the Resident Representative of the United Nations Population Fund in Colombia, Mr. Paulo Javier Lara. Greetings to the Secretary for Women and Gender Equality and Sexual Diversity of the Department of Valle del Cauca, Mrs. Yurani Andrea Ordóñez. Greetings to the Secretary for Peace and Culture of Cali's Mayor's Office, Johanna Caicedo Sinisterra. Greetings to the Director of Research and representative of the President of Universidad Libre in Cali, Adela Parra Moreno. Thank you very much to Universidad Libre. Thank you very much, Madam President, for having us here in such an important place. Greetings to the Director of Regional Development at the Ministry of Arts, Cultures and Knowledge, Vicenta Moreno. Greeting as well to the Director of Fon Buenaventura, Maria Elena Quiñones. To the Secretary for Women of the Department of Cauca, Nazli Lucumí Díaz. To Maestra, singer and cultural activist Nidia Góngora. To the participants in the Jóvenes Creadores del Chocó and their representative, Yurani Díaz. To the Director of Casa Cultural El Chontaduro, Lina Lugo. To the Director of Black Ground, Beatriz Balanta. To the Director of Families and Communities of the Colombian Institute for Family Welfare, Heidi Duque. Yesterday, the first global summit of midwives came to an end yesterday, and I'd like to greet the representative of midwives that we have today, Esther Quiñones, the master and defender of human rights and women's rights, Consuelo Cruz. Greetings to the theater group Compañía Ocaiju and their director, Catalina Mosquera and Julián Díaz. Greetings to my mother, Gloria Maria Mina López. To my father, Sigifredo Márquez Trujillo. To my husband and life partner, Yerney Pinillo Okoro. To my children, Kevin Snyder Marquez and Carlos Adrián Marquez. Greetings to all the officials from the municipal, department, and national governments that are here today with us. Greetings especially to the media and all those of you who have come here to take part in such an important event. I have a speech that is a little long. I have remained silent for several days now, and now I'm going to speak. We are here today to commemorate on this July 25th the International Day for Women and Girls of African Descent. I'm not here to talk only about me. I speak from an Afro-descendant body, the body of a black woman that has been celebrated, instrumentalized, worn out, and discarded. Because, yes, Indeed, this story started with a bang. The day we won the second round of the presidential election was the day where our presence was allowed, but we were not recognized. Several years ago, I was the voice that was going around the country. I was the face of hope, the Afro-descendant woman that would speak with the echo of the rivers, of humble homes, of popular knowledge, of callous hands, of the women who clean homes of others while they dream for a dignified life. But soon, I switched from being the political phenomenon, the hero, to be the traitor. Because in this country, when a black woman rises, suspicion ensues. The system never asks about its own capabilities, but only whether this woman is actually in the place she deserves. If she steps a little bit out of the expected role, then she becomes arrogant, treacherous, unskilled, unable, and dangerous. We are seeing Afro-descendant leaders taking part in the dynamics of power in governments that are called progressive, but that actually carry all the elements of a racial state. As James Baldwin rightly said, you cannot change everything that you face, but nothing can change until you face it. And this is what we are doing today. We are facing the policies of death, confronting those policies in order to build and defend life. Now let me be clear. I am not here to remain silent. I will not pretend that it doesn't hurt, that I am not tired, that I am not worn out. I want to scream. I want to tell you how this country keeps carrying us in their stories of exclusion, asphyxiates us in mistrust, and then blames us for not breathing. How do you eliminate a black woman from power in a contemporary democracy? Well, with narratives that are the first act before explosives and guns come. Narratives that repeat: unskilled, unable, untrustworthy, treacherous, traitor. And this paves the way so that someone eventually considers that canceling us helps the country. To highlight the consequences of cultivating racial hatred against those of us who dare to occupy these spaces, I would like to mention two cases that were widely reported in the country, in which individuals ended up facing justice because they allow themselves to be blinded by hatred. This hatred was cultivated by others who, with petty interests and from political platforms, sowed racist expressions against me and against all black people in this country. The country has not forgotten the time when an elderly woman in Bogotá, on Bolivar Square, encouraged by the harangues of politicians in the midst of an anti-government march, ended up denying the humanity of black people and equating us with animals, while shouting that it was inconceivable that a black woman could be part of the government. Of course, that is racism, and of course, racism is a crime. So much so that a judge of the Republic ruled as such and convicted that woman of harassment and acts of discrimination. This was a symbolic but powerful punishment because of the message it sent. Hating someone because of the color of their skin is not an opinion. It is a crime. We also recall the case of a young man, paradoxically a victim of violence in this country, who, intoxicated by the hatred distilled on social media, ended up wishing that a bomb would be placed at the vice president's office to end my life. That rage did not belong to him. It was the rage of those who sought to erase from the political spectrum a black woman who, in their view, did not deserve to use the tools available to the state to protect its officials. It is important to remember this case because the threat shows us how racism and discrimination make those who practice it believe that we do not deserve dignity or life. We must not forget Patrice Lumumba. He reminds us that peoples are destroyed not only with weapons, but with narratives of hatred, with discourses that strip away humanity. He was assassinated, buried, exhumed, and pulverized down to the last bone. Since the campaign up to this day, I have experienced many episodes of delegitimization, sabotage, and exclusion. Let me tell you just a couple. I was entrusted with the task of creating an institution that did not exist, that didn't have a structure. I didn't have money, I didn't have support. They told me, you do it. And when I said that in this new ministry that we were to create, 3 vice ministries were much, they said, no, you need 5. And I did it in spite of the systematic hurdles. I was accused of not carrying out this task when I was never given an instrument to actually do it. And the idea started going around that as I am a black woman, I surely am stealing money. Without having ever received 1 cent, I was treated as a criminal because the color of my skin, sadly, too many, makes me guilty. They asked me to be submissive, and when I asked for respect, they said I was arrogant. And little by little, what was being told to me in private was going public. Now that I remain careful, they are telling me that I am complicit because I am remaining silent. This is not personal. This is structural. The narrative that justified slavery, that narrative that said that African people were not humans but pack animals, has not disappeared. It has just changed. Today, we can find it in the arguments that say what a woman of African descent can say or cannot say. So today, the pack is symbolic. We are useful to win, to help win an election, but not to be in government. Just like in the Republican era, our ancestors were useful to participate in the first line in the wars of independence, but never to be granted freedom or fully participate in the newly created republic. They want us on the picture, but not at the decision-making table. They use us as symbols, but not as a people with a voice. They need us to be obedient, and if we don't obey, then punishment ensues: political violence, cancellation, and public dehumanization. I now understand why so many persons of African descent that have made their way to positions of power end up being silenced. It's not because they don't have ideas or capacity to govern, but because the price to speak is very high. Irreverence is not allowed for us, and our mistakes are amplified, but still, here we are. And I'd like to quote Angela Davis, to whom I truly thank her presence today, because she reminded us that we have the obligation not only not to be racist, but also to be anti-racist. Thank you so much, Angela Davis, for being a reference for us, for being a source of inspiration, and for giving us the strength that we need to keep raising our voices. I know that I am not alone. We are not alone. And I would like to thank you all for being here, so that we may all ask ourselves, what is the role of women of African descent in contemporary democracy? And today we are responding to the world that we are here. We stand to resist, to come up with proposals, to cure, and to create new forms of power that will not replicate colonial logics. Over the years of this government, we've created an institution in charge of equity. We created the National System for Care, Prevention, Registration, and Monitoring of Gender-Based Violence, called Salvia, a system that seeks to protect women from gender-based violence and femicide. For my people, I was able to achieve what has not been possible in 30 years, the regulation of Law 70 of 1993 that recognizes the rights of the black people in Colombia. We've adopted 3 decrees on natural resources, mining resources, and expansion and legal organization of the territories occupied by black communities, Afro-Colombians, raizales, and palenqueros. Today, and while life is being put at risk, a civilization that is built around care is necessary. This is why we are working towards the construction of a society that recognizes care as a fundamental pillar of life through the national public policy of care that we have adopted, that seeks to restore the social fabric of our country that has been destroyed by the armed conflict and by the violence of the state. We created the National Intersectoral Commission for Historical Reparations to make progress towards the restoration of dignity and overcoming the effects of racism, racial discrimination, colonialism that still affects ethnic peoples, as well as people of African descent, raizales and palenqueros, Rom, and of course, the indigenous peoples of our country. With our Africa strategy, we are supporting the strengthening of trade relations between Colombia and the African continent, trade and diplomatic as well as cultural relations between Colombia and the African continent. Thanks to our leadership, even though I was criticized as discriminatory, we've finally found a solution to our historic debt and created a public policy to defend and guarantee the rights of LGBTIQ+ peoples in Colombia. To express dissent in the government that I have helped elect and of which I am part is not treason. Showing dignity is not conspiration. I serve my people with loyalty, and I ask respect. And when I do that, I'm not being arrogant. Being a black woman should not make me a suspect. Being a woman of African descent in power is not a mistake. This country needs to look at itself in the mirror, and this mirror is showing my face, your face, women of African descent, raizales, palenqueras, indigenous, rom, campesinas, lesbian, trans, women from popular sectors, diverse women in all of your beauty and power. It shows the face of all those who work every day tirelessly to turn their dreams into a reality and help this country progress. All those of us who fight every day to make Colombia a better country, a better place to live for everyone. Because we are much more than state-sponsored racism that we experience today. We will not go back. It's for all the women and girls of Colombia that I am still strong here with my heart in place. And I am here to tell you that we are here until dignity becomes the norm.
Agradecemos de todo.
We would like to thank our Vice President, Francia Elena Marquez, for these remarks. Firm, deep, and filled with hope. Thank you for reminding us once again that dignity is something that must be conquered. It must be built through decisive actions. Thank you for joining us in this journey, for raising your voice, and for continuing opening a pathway for women and girls of African descent in Colombia and Latin America. We will now begin our dialogues, and for this, we will begin with the dream map of the girls and girls and adolescents of African descent. This initiative was born from the lived experiences and feelings of Black, Afro-Colombian, Raizal, and Palenquera girls who participated in a process of free expression and collective future building. This initiative was carried out in Atrapasueños houses that are present in different regions of our country, from the northern part of Guajira to the southern part of the Amazon. These are effective and political spaces where children and adolescents can come together in community, care for one another, and dream from their identity, their culture, and their history. Afterwards, we will hold a conversation with two Afro-descended girls, which will be led by Heidi Duque, who is the Director of Families and Communities at ICBF. So I would like to invite you all to connect with our hearts to this wonderful initiative that speaks about the dreams that children and adolescents have. I would like to invite you to watch a video that will tell us more about these dreams and aspirations, and afterwards we will be able to hear from them.
años. Mi nombre es Salomé.
My name is Salome Padilla Velante. I'm 10 years old and I am part of the Atrapasueños house in Cartagena. My name is Maria Jose Salazar Angulo. Hello, I'm Kaylee and I'm 7 years old. I live in the territory of Boca Chica in Bolívar. My name is Alejandra Maria Palacios Perez. I am 11 years old and I am part of the Atrapasueños house in Barranquilla in El Bosque neighborhood. My name is Emily Angulo and I am part of the Atrapasueños house in Tumaco. Hello, my name is Clara Sofia Orellano Pacheco. I am 10 years old. I am Afro-Colombian and I belong to the Atrapasueños house in Maicao. What are the dreams that these girls have? To be able to access quality education, to be able to go to school, college, and become a professional, to study and be professionals, to be valued and respected, to also have a voice and be heard. The dreams that Afro-descendant girls have are to live in a world full of freedom where they do not feel excluded because of who they are, how they think, or what they do. My dream is to have a school of Afro knowledge here in Boca Chica, a large and beautiful place where we can learn. Where many children can live the same things that I do, caring for our traditions and our roots. We dream of a world where we can all be heard, respected, and valued. That we're not judged by the type of our hair, that we do not feel overwhelmed because of our skin color, that we're not judged. What should happen for these dreams to become a reality? What should happen is that Afro girls have to have the same rights as others. Self-love and identity. Support networks at a community and family level. Respect and love for our culture. Eliminate structural racism. Change laws, policies, and practices that perpetuate racial discrimination in society. What should happen is that as a community we have to contribute. We do not have to doubt our capacities. They can do things, not because they're Afro-descendant girls are they not able to do things. We have to help them and believe in them because everything is possible. We need to be heard. We need to get opportunities to speak and be recognized. So that those dreams can become a reality, girls have to believe in themselves, and they should not listen to negative comments. For these dreams to become a reality, we need more hearts to join us to walk this path with us. Boca Chica is a small island, but the dream that I have is very large. These are the dreams and aspirations that Afro-descendant raizales and palenquera girls and adolescents have. And of course, they're part of the reflections that call us to gather here today. So I would like to invite Heidi Duque, Director of Families and Communities of the ICBF, for its acronym in Spanish.
Junto a ella recibiremos a...
We also have Samantha Perea Vallecilla, a 10-year-old girl from Santiago de Cali. And this conversation will be complemented with Valerie Quiñones Villa. She is a 17-year-old teenager from Tuluá. A big round of applause for them, please. Thank you very much. Good morning to our dear, brave Vice President. Thank you for generating this event, this very special day. And this day that we commemorate the International Day of Women and Girls of African Descent. From the ICBF, to all our sisters who are joining us today that are brave and rebellious. To all our friends who are here with us today, who are brave, rebellious, beautiful, and transformative. From ICBF, we would like to share one of the experiences that you saw during the video, and it has to do with a special space, a strategy that is present throughout the country, throughout the Colombian territory, especially in ethnic peoples' territories, and it has to do with the Atrapasueños houses, of ICBF.
Espacios de referencia.
These are spaces that are a reference for the territory, where it is possible to live in community, to enjoy care, and where boys, girls, and adolescents can dream, can be, and can enjoy their diversity. In this strategy of Atrapasueños, we have a pedagogy action that is called the Dream Map of Afro-descendant adolescents and girls. And part of that is what we saw in the video, where they reflected on their dreams, starting from questions about what the dreams are of these girls and adolescents, what must happen. And this has to do with participation, so that those dreams can become a reality. And what we see is also a demand from these girls, where they're saying what must happen in each one of the institutions. They're telling the government that we also represent as ICBF, and that bet towards change. In looking at what those dreams are, we have 7 categories that I'll name very quickly, that we group and we categorize the demands that are made by adolescents and girls. One has to do with dreams related to education, with the right to education. We still have a long-standing debt with our girls and adolescents. Dreams of freedom and expression of participation. Participation without fear, to be able to hear and respect the different forms of expressions, as our children said. They also spoke about dreams related to justice, living without racism or violence, living without fear, being recognized and respected, to live with dignity, to live until dignity becomes the norm. Dreams related to peace, to live in community without violence or armed conflicts. This is an urgent call that we still have in our country. Dreams of well-being, to have access to health, food, play, care, support, and to have love surrounding them. That was also expressed by the children. It seems that these are things that should just naturally occur, but our girls and adolescents are asking for this, so this means that we're still lacking this and we have to work on it. I dream of home. That was mentioned in the video, to have their own houses with families that can live in peace. Dreams related to identity and culture, to be able to experience their culture, to be able to express their identity with different traditional practices. These dreams that are shared by these girls invite us to life experiences coming from the personal narrations of each one of them. And that is what we will now hear. From the work of a different kind of feminism, we have to listen also to those particularities, how they narrate and how they live these experiences. And these are also tools of politics and the analysis of how we must accompany our children from a feminist perspective that is inclusive. Inclusive feminism that is decolonial and plural. We need that these girls who are claiming social justice and are claiming spaces to live, to be respected, and to have a space to live. And from that feminism that we're representing today, that has to be a feminism that narrates and that is also committed to ethnicity. Exposing the conditions of these capitalist system of exploitation, especially for Afro women, and how do we also make this visible? Those are some of the demands that the girls mentioned when sharing their dreams. We collect the ideas of these girls throughout the country who are telling us what must happen to be able to make these dreams a reality. And they are telling us that we need to guarantee real and equitable access to rights, to eliminate barriers for accessing these rights, to protect their ethnic and cultural identity, and recognize and protect their rights in terms of preserving their history, their knowledge, and their cultural practices. To be free from all sorts of violence, to transform educational content, including history, contribution, and leadership of our Afro-descendant peoples in school syllabus, to eliminate bias and racial stereotype in education. They also mentioned about enabling territories and homes that are worthy and safe, to create and maintain spaces that are safe for all sorts of expressions, self-esteem and guidance, free from all sorts of violence, to encourage participation and promote participation of Afro-descendant girls in roundtables, school boards, leadership groups, and different sorts of community groups and collectives, and also strengthening support networks, strengthening the role of mothers and caregivers as agents that are active in the upbringing of children. The girls will speak shortly. What must happen? Just as they're telling us, we need to encourage spaces like this one, the creation of support networks amongst Black girls and women, to have juntas such as this gathering today, to prioritize collective well-being, self-care, how to be part of citizen and community resistance that is also anti-racist. Those are the actions that are active and living that our girls are inviting us to generate, to be able to have life spaces where they can be happy and joyful. And since the conversation is not going to be held with adults, it will be held with girls, we will now talk to them so we can hear from them. This brief conversation with Samantha and Valerie. The first question is to ask them to introduce themselves. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Samantha Perea Vallecilla. I am 10 years old. I was born in Cali. I am a student at the Jose Maria Carbone Educational Institution. I live with my mom, my sister, and my grandmother. I study folkloric dance at the Institution of Cultural Arts in the youth program. Samantha has a special gift that she did not tell us about that has to do with the violin. Tell us about this. Yes, I take violin lessons at the Sin Fronteras institution, and I have been able to learn many things, also thanks to my grandmother, which is a great defender of human rights and a leader in pro of human rights that has taken me to where I am today. Just a small sample of that talent, beauty, and bravery of our girls. Thank you very much. Valerie is a young leader from Cali who is also part of Atrapa Sueños, that strategy for strengthening family ties and youth leadership. Welcome, Valerie. Tell us about yourself. Good afternoon. I am very excited to be able to be here and to be able to, I'm grateful for this wonderful opportunity that I have been given. My name is Valerie Tatiana Quiñones Villa. I come from Tuluá Valle. My mother is from Tuluá. My father is from Guapi, Cauca. He is a fisherman. I am 17 years old, and I have been undertaking youth leadership processes. I am a candidate for the Municipal Council of Youth. And, well, I am impressed to see so many women that are resilient and brave and full of stories and who are now paying attention to me. Thank you very much, Valerie. Here we have a very diverse and big stage filled with very important people who are here listening to all of you and who also admire you for your transformations. What do you believe that we should do? We have ICBF and many international entities. What do you think needs to happen to generate those transformations so that you can be happier in this country? My dream is to end racism in Colombia and in all countries so that I won't be excluded because of my skin color or my culture or my hair. And I would also like to keep fighting. Thank you very much. What do you have to share with us? What are those dreams to transform life into a better and happier life for girls of African descent? My dream is for young people to be able to value their identity, their ethnic identity. I have been surrounded by many people, and I have seen that young women have an issue in terms of identifying and accepting that they come from Black communities, accepting their Afro, their story, and their culture. And all that is because of stereotypes. My dream is that young women start loving themselves, because I am a firm believer that beauty lies in diversity, and the diversity that we have as women, our nose, our traits, perhaps our features that's stronger than others, that's what makes us beautiful. And that is my dream, that young women can learn to love themselves just as they are, that they can accept their Afro, that they do not hide it, that there can be a better educational system in the small municipalities in the Pacific, and that someday violence in this country can come to an end, that we stop leaving our territories just because of an armed conflict that has no sense, has no meaning and makes no sense, and has lasted for many years. That is my dream. Thank you very much. And our Vice President mentioned it as well. We're judged, we're pointed out, but what we have to do is to be proud of what we do, of who we are, of what we are, our story, and that story is not changed from a colonial point of view. Because from that place, it is not possible to transform. And the only people that can move and change places are ourselves. These young girls, young women with these reflections that they bring us here today. And this invitation to transform the educational system, to transform many of the stories that have been told to us that are not true. I would like to end this section with some final recommendations that you might have for us. Is that okay? First of all, before giving a message to our girls, I would like to say that I am very grateful for this opportunity. I would like to thank the Vice President. I always wanted to meet you. Also, I'm Angela Davis. I'm your #1 fan. And this message is for Black girls. Do not give up. We will continue to fight. We will end conflict. Your hair is beautiful. Your skin is beautiful. Love yourselves because you are very valuable just the way you are. And now I would like to share a part of a story of a song called Woman.
Tú que sabes de palanca de canalete, ronca por tus derechos, ronca, ronca mujer, ronca por tus derechos, ronca, ronca mujer, ronca, 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 ronca mujer, ronca, 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 ronca mujer, ronca por tus derechos y por los de tu nación, ronca por la vida, ronca por el amor, ronca por la vida, ronca por el amor. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Valerie, you were saying that you wanted to give us some closing remarks. Please go ahead. This message, well, I started to draft it a couple days ago, but I would like to share it with you. I'm very proud, and it's filled with love. Today I speak from pain, but also from my dignity, because being a Black woman in this world should not be a synonym of constant resistance. They have wanted us to be quiet, submissive, hypersexualized, or invisible. They have denied our story and overlooked our skin. I drafted this inspired by my grandmother, who was telling me that many of my ancestors, mainly women, have suffered abuse, of all kinds of abuse. She said that she was very happy and proud of me because in a certain way I was not carrying any of those wounds, but emotionally I think I share them. I also want to continue reading my text. Today, we're here, surviving after centuries of racism, exclusion, and violence. Black women that continue to raise, heal, fighting, and dreaming, because one thing is being a woman and another thing is being Afro-descendant, which makes us even more powerful and resilient, because even if the system tries to break down, we have fire in our soul and wisdom in our blood. We were not born to stand things, we were born to transform. And I think that that is the power of our stories. That transformation starts by recognizing our injuries, but also our power to change the world. I invite us all to question ourselves, question the privileges, the silence, the fear, to not be accomplices to a racism that kills, machismo that for many years has also humiliated us. It is time for revolution, a revolution that does not just happen out in the streets, but also with our own ideas, participating in this kind of event, and also through a language of self-love. Because every time a black woman loves herself, defends herself, and raises herself up, the world shakes. This is a message that I wanted to share. Feminism will either be anti-racist or it will not be. Feminism will be anti-racist or it will not be. As I was coming up, well, I would like to thank you for making this event a possibility. I just wanted to say that of course I'm proud to be black, and I will always love myself just how I am. Thank you very much. As I was coming up, one of the girls asked me to say something, that feminism, anti-racist feminism, also has to consider the children in Gaza.
Que somos solidarios también.
That we also have solidarity for the children in Gaza and for the care and protection of the environment. One of the girls mentioned it. She asked me to say this. Thank you very much to these beautiful girls on this very special day. Thank you very much.
Hola, hola. Gracias.
Thank you, Heidi Duque, Samantha Perea, and Valerie Quiñones, for opening up this session with this very hopeful and inspiring dialogue, portraying their vision towards the future, the dream map that we have woven through their intentions. It is a live declaration of where we are headed and how we are doing it. We now would like to invite you to participate in a very special space, because having these sorts of gatherings has taught us that it is important to generate some moments to be able to portray these historical processes. We have our team of photographers ready so that we can take this historical picture, the picture of this great gathering that brings us together at Universidad Libre Valle del Cauca in this international gathering together for the restoration of our dignity. So our photographers, well, you see that we take pictures of each panel, but today this great open panel is all of us. So our photographers will come up to the front of the stage, and we would like for all of you to stand up to be part of this great official picture that will be taken from the stage to the rest of the auditorium.
Ya estamos tomando posiciones. Es el momento de arreglar ese.
So fix your hair. It's a moment to stretch out, as this is a picture that's going to be historical. It's a picture that shows the historical struggle that Black and Afro-descendant women, Racial and Palenquero women have endured, and that should remain in time, that we need to have and keep, because without a doubt, future generations will look at that picture as something to inspire them for struggles to follow.
¿Listas? ¿Listo?
Is everybody ready? Are all of you ready? They're asking me if the people on the sides, on the side hallways, are going to appear in the photo. Everybody can fit in? That's great. So everybody in the room, that's with our fist up, our symbol, and until dignity becomes the norm.
Gracias a todos.
Well, thank you all, ladies, gentlemen, them, they, for that historical picture. Thank wonderful frame to keep this memory of our coming together. The struggle that walks, the struggle of black women in Latin America. Together, fighting, creating awareness in the future for the black people. Those are our voices, this is our claim, manifesting itself in this venue. I want to invite you right now so we can have a seat once again, please, as we will have our first discussion panel that's going to mention what is happening with power positions and political participation for women of African descent. A topic that should clearly call our attention about the position that racial palenquero, black women, or from our diaspora, and the decision-making processes of the different communities and spaces to reflect on the path that women of Afro-descendant history have achieved those venues, those places, those positions, transforming those spaces, giving them new significance and celebrating new possibilities for generations to come. In this panel, we have exceptional leaders from different regions of the world with political, academic, and social history that are truly inspiring. So I would invite you to please have our seats again, and we can be a part of this great conversation. We're preparing all the technical details so we can start the first conversation today.
Sabemos que por supuesto este es un espacio.
We know this is a very emotional space, and these pictures are very important for all of our work and our history, and having the possibility of sharing with such a close vice president that feels as we feel, that can understand what we are going through is very important, but we are about to get started with our first conversation with our national and international participants, the political sector, academic sector, with great track records in their work and activities. So we invite you to please settle down and get ready for our activity. Thank you.
Con esta conversación que tendremos,
And through this conversation around decision-making positions and access to power positions by black women, with that, we will conclude our morning session. I think it's going to be a great panel session allowing to go a bit deeper in this larger conversation that summons us from a global standpoint. And that is how to shorten those gaps. And that the women and the girls were telling us about just a moment ago, the ICBF Children's Welfare Institute and their Atrapa Sueños or Dreamcatcher initiative on how to inspire ourselves with these activists, with these great leaders, politicians, Afro-descendant, racial or palenquero women that representing their diaspora are always inspiring us to finding better opportunities for future generations. And it's a space not only that invites us to converse, but also motivates coming together. And that's normal, that the auditorium appears a bit disorganized, that it's reached a boiling point as we're recognizing each other, greeting each other, and that is also very important. But at this moment, I would very respectfully invite you to take your seats once again as our national and international speakers are getting ready so that we can pay close attention and provide continuity to our agenda. I believe everything is ready to continue recognizing each other and all of us here, seeing the stories of all those sisters and brothers around us, looking in the mirror to understand the road they have traveled and understand their own travels and relate them to our own. So, if we can get ready, we can continue with the agenda. Thank you.
quiero invitar para que me acompañe aquí en el escenario a la doctora June Sommer.
I want to invite Ms. June Sommer, member of
Desde Santa Lucía.
Dr. June Sommer, former chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent from St. Lucie. I would also like to welcome Chantal Shambou Mwabita, Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I would also like to invite to be part of this conversation Dr. Epsi Campbell-Barr, former Vice President of the Republic of Costa Rica, pioneer of Afro-descendant political leadership in Latin America. Joining our speakers as well, we have Teresa Mojica Morga, former federal deputy of the United States, advocate for the rights of Afro-Mexican communities. I would also like to invite Paola Cabezas, National Assembly member of Ecuador, committed leader for social and ethno-racial justice.
A ellas se suma
Joining her, we have Nasli Lucumi Diaz, Secretary for Women's Affairs of the Department of Cauca, Colombia. I would also like to call Vicenta Moreno, Director of Regional Promotion of the Ministry of Cultures, Arts, and Knowledge in Colombia. It will be a wonderful dialogue moderated by Dr. Diana Bashal, Associate Professor in the Department of African American Studies at the University of California at Berkeley in the U.S. And her research has been fundamental in understanding racial politics and Afro-descendant movements in Latin America. Te puedes seguir.
Los invito a que...
I invite you to have your seats. Please have your seats so we can start with our first dialogue for today. We've got our panel members on stage and ready, and our moderator also waiting on us to start our conversation.
Le agradecemos a las personas.
Thank you to everybody. Close to the Vice President, please have a seat. Please help us get organized so we can get started.
Reiteramos el llamado a las personas que se encuentran de pie.
All right, everybody's standing up, please. On the front of the stage, please help us so we can get started in our first conversation. Thank you.
Les agradecemos por ubicarse en sus lugares y tendrá entonces...
All right, if everybody is organized, now we have our moderator, Ms. Tiana Pichel, ready to open the dialogue for us.
Mira. Hola, muy buenos días.
Hello and good morning, beautiful, powerful, pretty woman. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Tiana Pichel, and I'm a professor at the University of California at Berkeley. A huge honor to be here with you today and with so many women that are leaders and powerful women from different regions of Colombia, the Americas, and Africa, and the world. I want to salute as Vice President, great Vice President Francia Elena Marquez Mina, that has become and will continue to be, I'm sure more than ever, a reference for all of us black women, but also a reference point around the world that we want to build together. I also want to greet all the women and girls that I've seen here that are sharing their dreams with us, as it's so important for us to learn from them and be very clear on the fact that we need to leave this world better than the way we received it. And the struggle from all ancestors and the tears and blood that were shed and all their best efforts. Now, I feel so well taken care of with you, and I feel you embracing me, and I feel empowered. And I will try and moderate this panel on African and Afro-descendant women in spaces of power and political participation venues. It's a critical topic, and any moment of our history, but it is particularly important right now in the current political context of Colombia, and the geopolitical context around the world, including my country. We've got the honor as well of having a panel of just very powerful women, the leading women that have dedicated their lives really to the greater collective, to improve the world itself through their work, deep and continuous work in social movements and in transnational companies, among other venues. We've got so much experience that is unique in our panel members. great cumulative knowledge and lessons learned. And I want to introduce each individual here, knowing that it's going to be just a very short introduction. Otherwise, we'd be all the way until the nighttime talking about the contributions and achievements of each one of this wonderful ladies. So, excuse me if I'm not mentioning some of the great work that you're doing.
Y que tenga paciencia.
Now bear with me. First, I'd like to introduce June Summer, former chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent from St. Lucia. And you can applaud, of course, when I mention each one. She's currently representative of a global campus of the West Indies University, member of the Reparation Committee of St. Lucia and the regional panel for eminent individuals for the Anthony Sabat Awards. She was, I said, former chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, General Secretary of the Studies Association for the Caribbean countries, and Ambassador, Plenipotentiary Ambassador of St. Lucia and the CARICOM organization for all affairs of our diaspora. Big round of applause for her, Dr. June Summer. Dr. June Summer. And we've also got Chantal Shambu Moavita, born on 17 November 1969. Bukavu, a province of South Kivu. This is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She has studies specializing in human rights from the Catholic University of Novena in Belgium. She's a master's in mediation management and conflict resolution from the University Institute of Kurzbusch in Switzerland, and bachelor's degree in as attorney at law in Congo from the Unikin University. Now, since May 2024, Shambu Mavita is the Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Big applause for our guest and panel member. Following Dr. Epsi Campbell-Barr is a global leader in inclusion, development, human rights, and sustainability topics, and she's former Vice President of the Republic of Costa Rica between 2018 and 2022. Now, being the first Afro-descendant individual in reaching that position and the first woman to be named Ministry of Foreign Affairs, she was also elected in 2 times representative on behalf of the Republic of Costa Rica between 2002 and 2006 and between 2014 and 2018. She's a researcher and a lecturer, economist by trade with honoris degrees in humanities from the University of Georgia and Howard University in Washington, and also doctor in philosophy, emeritus by the Rancha University in India. She's also expert and consultant in empowerment, inclusion, political and economic empowerment of women, development and development of Afro-descendant communities and sustainability. So I'll leave it at that. A big round of applause for Dr. Epsi Campbell-Barr. And I'm sorry if I'm a little nervous. Now we've got Teresa Mojica Morga. And Teresa is current chairman of the nonprofit or Petra Morgan Afro-Mexican organization, and former federal deputy of the United Mexican States, representing the state of Guerrero, and first want to identify herself, this is very important, identify herself for the first time as Afro-Mexican, 2023, and presented an initiative on the same year. Thank you. And presented an initiative on that same year to enact a law to recognize Afro-descendant individuals in Mexico and the Mexican Constitution, committing to her roots, the commitment that has led her to engage in different legislative and cultural activities, always with the intention of making more visible the Afro-Mexican people and its communities, groups, and collectives that have been systematically marginalized and discriminated because of the color of their skin. Big round of applause for Teresa, or Teresita to us. Next, we've got Dr. Paola Cabezas, National Assembly member of Ecuador, Congresswoman from Ecuador, committed leader for social and ethno-racial justice, Masters in Communication and Political Marketing of the University of El Salvador in Argentina, currently national re-elected Congresswoman by Citizens Vote, and she's part of the Commission for Integral Protection for Teenagers and Women and Girls. She has presided the Constitutional Assurance Committee, coordinating her party, and member of the Parliamentary Group for the Rights of Women. Big round of applause for Dr. Paola Cabezas. Allow me 1 second, please. We also have Dr. Nazli Lucumi Diaz, Secretary for Women's Affairs of the Department of Cauca in Colombia. She's an attorney at law and has a BA in ethnic education, specialist in constitutional law, and master's from intercultural studies coming from the Community Council of Piedra Pintada, and participating from the ASNASU organization from the beautiful municipality of Suarez in the neighboring department of Cauca. And her professional experience includes roles such as family of Buenos Aires and Suarez municipalities, ombudswoman for Suarez, amongst many other positions to protect human rights from everybody and all of us. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Nazli Lucumi Diaz. And last but not least, and I'm so proud to introduce Dr. Vicenta Moreno. Vicenta Moreno Hurtado is Director of the Regional Promotion Unit from the Ministry of Culture, Arts, and Knowledge of Colombia, the BA in Artistic Education, and holding a Master's in Education, emphasizing on popular education, research, and community development from the University of Valle. Her master's thesis, called Between Dignity and Death, Black Women, Patriarchal Domination, and Spatial Strategies to Resist in Eastern Cali City, constituted a researcher's bet from a critical standpoint of Black feminism and community pedagogy. That is a reference to us all. She was also coordinator from the cultural house El Chontaduro from Cali City. A very important organization. Is community-based and promotes epistemic, social and gender justice in territories that have been historically excluded. So big round of applause for Dr. Vicenta Moreno Hurtado. Well, we're excited to present two questions to start us off in this panel. And I'm going to make the questions so we're all clear on what we expect and to discuss on. So thank you so much for being with us. And I want to invite each of the panel members to speak for 5 minutes maximum for each question. So let's do the first one. Just wanted to give you a heads up of what we want to do with the panel and with the two questions. So I want to ask you about in decision-making spaces and based in your experience, what could we do to inspire more young girls and black women to occupy power positions and political roles in the state or in other venues of great importance? And the second question would be, what is your priority, or what do you individually consider is the most important action to include in a global agenda for Afro-descendant girls and women, or African or African descent women, to strengthen their leadership and political participation and then engagement? So let's start with the first question. It's about lessons learned from your own experience that you could share with us and might assist us in this endeavor. Let's start with Dr. June, please.
Thank you very much for your question. But before I start to answer, I want to thank the Vice President for her kind invitation to be here. And we want her to know that we are with her in this struggle. With regard to the question itself, I think that young women have to rise above the invisibility that have been accorded to women of African descent. It started in enslavement, with racism, and with I will start again.
Permítanos un minuto, están...
Just give us 1 second and please bear with us. It's just such a great opportunity to be a part of these conversations, but the language is a barrier. People were just getting their headsets on, but I think we can always overcome this barrier, and we have the colleagues assisting us. I think everybody's ready now. Let's just make sure, can someone tell me if you can hear the interpretation?
Están diciendo la otra. Okay, especialmente aquí en el panel. Okay.
Especially those members of the panel. Okay, the audience can hear us just fine. And panel members can hear us fine in English as well for any questions. Can we just get everybody a headset in the panel that requires, because it's going to be Spanish and French as well. Everybody's good with their interpretation? Okay. If you're not, please let us know right now and we can get you ready quickly. Okay.
Un momentico. Gracias a todo el equipo.
Thank you, everybody, helping us with interpretation. And sorry, I think we're ready now. Okay. Awesome. So let's start once again with Dr. June. So sorry, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I started by thanking the Vice President for her wonderful invitation to be in this space and to say that it is very good to be in Cali again. I want to tell the young women in the audience that they have to rise above the invisibility of being a black woman. That invisibility was imposed on us during enslavement when we were characterized as chattel. So we could be bought, we could be sold, we could be mortgaged, we could be inherited. At the same time, we were denied visibility within our history. So we do not know about the great leaders, African female leaders. Neither do we know about the resistance fighters, those people that we call rebels, but who are really freedom fighters, searching for our own dignity and reclaiming our humanity that was taken away from us during that crime against humanity called enslavement. I want young women to consequently do something for me. Read about women's history, and if it's not written, write it. Write it so that you can be the author of your own narrative. For too long they have said to us that we as leaders, women who are black leaders, are too aggressive. We are rude. We are arrogant. The same things that the Vice President said. In fact, during enslavement, they cut off our tongues so that we could not speak back. But your tongue is in place right now, and I expect you to rise above that invisibility. I also want you to know that as a historian, I realize that a lot of our invisibility was a foil against producing a visibility for white women. So white women were afforded that visibility. White women were afforded a certain amount of equality with white men. And so white men were able to go past the patriarchy to include white women, but they did not include us. And so I want you to recognize that that foil that you have been painted against, that foil which says you must look like a Stepford wife. For you, those of you who don't know the Stepford wife movie, you must have a look at it. It is an imprint of women who are supposed to be like robots and who are supposed to cater to white men. And you see it a lot now in the American media, the Stepford wives stepping forward as equals to white men. But we are pushed back because of the fact that we have spoken and we will continue to speak. And so they tell you that you are not pretty enough to be a leader. You cannot represent your country because your hair is naturally African. I remember when I was going to become ambassador to CARICOM and OECS, somebody said to me, I hope you are going to straighten your hair. You cannot represent us with your hair like this. And so your hair is not supposed to represent, and not even represent your own people. You have to do what the young lady said, and the 10-year-old who was on the stage. You must develop self-love for you to be able to rise above all of these things and take your place in the world as proud women of African descent, proud women from Africa. We are the creators of the earth. And so it is our voice that must be heard. And I'm very proud of the space that was facilitated by the Vice President and for her fight at the United Nations to make sure that this day happens. And we have to continue to ensure that we move from strength to strength in dignity, reclaiming our humanity. Thank you.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning. I also want to deeply thank Vice President Francia Marquez for the invite. Vice President or future President, you will always represent us. And you are representing all of these Black and Afro-descendant women, Palenquera women, Racial women, powerful women, always women that are chingonas or tough, like we say in Mexico. Women that you shouldn't mess with, that don't need permission from anybody. These women that can speak freely. And these women that I'm also going to give you a big responsibility right now, because we need to take a step ahead. We need to participate in politics now as the only way that we have to transform that systematic racism that oppresses us all is being in those decision-making spaces. I can prevent it. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all, and you heard the Vice President in her speech. You have been listening to the Vice President, Ms. Cabell, as well. You will hear Congresswoman Paola Cabezas as well, and you will be listening to each one of the women, Afro-descendant Black women, that are arriving at decision-making spaces. All of us having people tell us that we're crazy. In our own countries saying Black people don't exist. Those are foreigners that are coming through Mexico. They're not Mexicans. And when I was a representative, they told me, why do you recognize yourself as Afro-Mexican? That there are no Black people here. You don't even speak any different language or anything. And I said, the only thing I can tell you is that in my house, I have a Black mother. I have a Black grandmother as well. And my whole family is Black, and that's why I take a step ahead to vindicate them. Now, the young girls were telling us very clearly just a moment ago, we've got dreams, and we want to be included and considered with respect. With dignity is the word they use, and not to tell us that our hair is not beautiful, because it's curly. And the task we have is no longer just our own. It's not because Francia is telling us. It's not because of our great teacher, Angela Davis. It's not just because of all this powerful women we have here today. Our fight is for all the young girls that are asking us right now and demanding, but also committing to, I should say, because they are committing to continue fighting. And this is why today, on a 25th of July, I want us to commemorate with all our strength, to commemorate with all our joy as well, to commemorate with all our power, and to commemorate with all our capacity to resist, but above anything, to commemorate with happiness. because we're here, because we have resisted and endured, and we are not going away. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Afro, Latin American and Caribbean organization that is now 33 years old organization. I want to send my greetings to women such as Sergia Galban and Vicenta Camuso, women such as Irma Rivera Lassen, or as Dorothea Wilson, and women such as our founder as well, Epsi Campbell's Bar. Now I also want to salute our representative Paola Yañez Inofuentes, that today is celebrating for the first time in Mexico for our organization this great opportunity. Now, this is the commitment of participating in political affairs, as it's not easy at all, and others always want to annihilate us from participating. But if we have withstood, if our ancestors survived all those over 500 years of perils, the only thing that we're risking is to having success. The only thing that is the risk that we're facing is the possibility to be present in decision-making spaces. That's why all of you need to leave here understanding that we are already involved in political activity. All we're going to do now is political actions to take power and speak for the over 200 million of efforts, and there's over 100 million of Afro-descendant women in Latin America. And we need to be able to make decisions in our own countries, in our own states or cities, in our own communities to start with. This is what I'm summoning you today on the 25th of July, a day of Afro-descendant girls and women. Thank you very much.
Je remercie Madame. De retrouver mes sœurs.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I am so happy to be an African woman or of African descent that has been stripped, as we have all been stripped of our DNA, and now our role has become actually interesting in trying to understand the role of Afro-descendant peoples. We have been talking about this for a while, and understanding that it's not our own history, it's our forefathers and grandparents and those that started telling us about our history and where we came from, and also let us understand why our siblings and or their family members were taken to plantations and taking these strong men to work in the plantations to very far away places, because Africa was very far away from the places that slaves were taken to. But when we came to the Western world, if you will, we found some of these other relatives that we were hearing about, because you didn't want them anymore. And we were telling us how you could sell one of our siblings or our family members, and that we had to understand that crazy reality. And if today we think of someone that had nothing to eat, and that had a baby in slavery, and that it was so hard to take that baby away from that mother that was a slave, I'm trying to understand how these person was not selling her child out of her own will, as we were led to believe. And all these situations that were confusing were distorted. And today we need to understand our reality and our families and where we come from. And I'm just so happy to be here with all of you, my sisters, because I heard that you were also stripped, and so many things were taken from you, and you were separated from the world where you couldn't even speak your own language anymore. You couldn't find your own DNA and your history as well. But thanks to Vice President Francia, I'm here today, at least, and I can see my sisters, and I'm so happy. Maybe I can't talk about the atrocities or the deep sadness that all these African families, family members suffered when they were coming to the Western world. But today, I need to talk about the joy I feel, and to the question of what I recommend for black women to find their place in politics, or let's talk in leading roles and decision-making spaces. I would just talk about my own example. It's such a path of traveling along so many places, fighting for human rights, working from the civil society organizations, and then starting to, face resistance because I defended the most vulnerable women. It was at that point where I was forced to try and study law, because I needed to understand how to defend all these people that were suffering back then in those times, and trying to defend those that were incarcerated, fairly perhaps, or very vulnerable, at least in that condition. And I was harassed, or I was criticized because of my positions, and but there were people that had been arrested arbitrarily, because of political situations, and that speaking out for them cost me exile, where I had to stay for several years in Belgium. And during my stay in that country, I always wanted to go home, because in my household, I didn't feel like I had the right to run away from my country. That's what I felt. And in the meantime, I said that before returning to my country, I did achieve everything I wanted, build up and get all the strength I could. So I became a lawyer from the University at Goma, and then I enrolled myself in a university to do the training in human rights law. And this is how I was able to improve, become a better defender for others. And it's because of what I feel in my heart, as I always have, but now with those legal grounds and those legal studies. And then I was able to go back and defend the causes of the most vulnerable people, every time trying to beg for assistance and try to beg the politicians or the political authorities that knew nothing about human rights, I might add, or human dignity, or the sacredness of life. And I said, I don't always need to beg for the rights of others, now that I understood the legality of things. And I created a national level, a party for the dignity of people.
I then started little by little, because the implementation of a political party needs many different elements. Therefore, I started working in part of Kiev, in the south, and that is how I started acting little by little. And as a small party, I also had to be aligned with the larger parties to be able to acquire experience. And that is how I became part of a group called Les Stabilisés, Everything for Democracy and the Development of El Congo. So it is a party that is allied to the bigger party. We also worked for several years to be able to have all these congressmen, because in our country, to be able to have a minister, the countries might have need to have a minimum of 10 participants. So we reached this minimum, and we were able to obtain a minister. and he became the Minister of Human Rights. And since I had been working on this since I was young, I was able to be granted this opportunity and this protection. So I have mentioned all this to tell you how staying firm with your objective can lead you to what you want. I wanted to defend the cause of my fellow citizens, and I started when I was very young. And whenever I faced an obstacle, I tried to see how we could move forward. I tried to figure out how to overcome those obstacles, and now I can say that I know how to defend our rights at a national and international level, and that is my advice. You have to look for the way to do this. You have to try to find those resources. And we must create investment funds for African and Afro-descendant women, because money is definitely something that helps us to move forward. If men have gotten further ahead, it's because they have these means, and they do not give us these means because they consider that we are not their complement, but we are going up against this. And this is what I had to share with you today. And once again, Madam Vice President of Colombia, I am very grateful for having invited us. God bless you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I will make a second attempt. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. The first thing that I would like to do is thank the Vice President, Francia Marquez. Francia, this International Day, approved by the United Nations, we owe this to you. So I would like for us to give you a round of applause. Because since 35 years ago, some of us were present at the first gathering of Afro-descendant women in Latin America and the Caribbean, and we started to promote a movement that has not stopped. Based on my own experience, I would like to present a series of elements that I consider to be my learnings in politics. The first thing that I would like to say, and if the moderator allows that I do so, I would like to stand. And the first thing that I would like to say is that, Madam Vice President, we came into politics to stay. We're here to stay. We will not leave even if people are not comfortable with us, because the big transformation of our societies is thanks to the leadership of Afro-descendant women. The big transformation of the order of things that we have nowadays is thanks to us, Black women, and it is not something coincidental. It is because we are at the base of the pyramid, of the social and economic pyramid built from colonial times. Therefore, when we are able to achieve dignity, everyone else will also achieve this. We are not working just for ourselves. We are working for a new social pact that recognizes the dignity of everyone without any pretext, only because they are people, just because they are human. So in my journey through politics, today the Vice President was reminding me of how perhaps you might have many stories, difficult stories to tell. And sometimes you do not tell them. Sometimes you tell them so that people can become a bit more humane and they can have more compassion. Because definitely, we have come into politics to provide a service, a public service, and not to perform a sacrifice. Our ancestors already had significant and enough sacrifices. So, in the last 2 minutes that I have, I will tell you that we should think about younger women. Younger women, either in age or those that are just coming into politics, because you might be a bit older, but just starting to go into politics. So first I would like to say that we have to try to have those power spaces so that we can transform them. We will not transform them from theory, they'll be transformed from practice and action. Second, I would like to say that there is a roadmap that we have to set for ourselves. We are here to transform the patriarchy leadership, that leadership that drags people and resources, that stratifies people. And that is a leadership that we're here to change. We're here for a compassionate, transformative leadership. That leadership that has a vision of the future, that knows what is the dream that we have, and our dream is a society that is worthy for all. We clearly understand what is our mission. We have used the tool of power for that mission and to be able to come to that dream. We understood, and we have always understood, that knowledge should be on our side. That is why, once again, thank you, dear Angela Davis, because you have taught us from the academia that knowledge is a fundamental tool for transformation. But we need discipline, and you know this as well, Vice President, and everyone else. That energy that brings us up when we do not feel like it, that energy that allows us to follow the plan and understand that we're not just here for ourselves. We need something that we all have, and we always have it in mind. We need passion. That transformative energy that we inherited from those that came before us, those that had a much more difficult situation than ours, because we, at the end of the day, have been able to achieve power spaces that our ancestors could not even dream of. But that they did not step back until they obtained freedom. But we are promoting compassionate leadership, not competitive leadership that kills and diminishes life itself just for the purpose of reaching economic benefits. Our leadership is compassionate, and we put ourselves in the shoes of those behind us. Compassion is one of the main pillars of these transformative leadership. And I would like to end with 3 things, which are what I have learned. What I have mentioned about having a vision and having dreams and having a mission, that you have to be thirsty for knowledge and have to be disciplined, and you have to have compassion and passion. We have to have the capacity to lead and to inspire those groups that we work with, but also to lead by example. It's not enough just to say a few things and do something else. That is what patriarchy-based leadership, that is what it has done. So it says some things and then it does the opposite. We need to act and to promote this sort of leadership. And finally, we have to challenge ourselves and have the best version of ourselves. We have to take a small step forward every day to become the better version of ourselves. And of course, since we're African, because we really are African, that is how we're recognized in our societies, and we have to say it proudly. This is our culture, our roots. Even if we have this citizenship that we vindicate for rights, we'll always work from the principle Ubuntu, of the global tribe. what gives meaning to existence. So I highlight this by saying that in a tribe, when one person is not doing well, we all turn to support her, to protect her. Because if one person is not doing well, the rest are not doing well either. So in this Ubuntu principle, we have to understand that our collective source is what will lead us to that dream for all people. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm full of emotions. So I'll try not to go too far out in my topics. Francia, Vice President, it is forbidden for you to give up. It is forbidden for you to give up. You do not have permission to put your arms down, because it's just a few of us who have been able to have the opportunity to be in spaces of power, and we have to continue doing our job for those behind us. A big hug and a round of applause for you. I love you, I admire you, and I'm here because we need to do many more things. I value what those that are coming behind me are doing. She does not like for me to say how many years she's been working on this, but she's also responsible for us being here. And I would like to say a few things that probably because of time have not been said. But in my education, my formal education, well, I studied communication. And I think that there are some things that are being woven strategically to de-incentivize ourselves and to remove us from politics. Because we have been given permission to be able to be present in any profession, to be part of any profession, whether it's being a lawyer, engineers. So for you to be able to decide to dispute political power, there is a problem in that in itself. And why am I saying this? Well, in my career as a communicator, I've done everything. I would say that it wasn't a problem to be a black woman, to be a recognized journalist, to be an anchor on TV, and to be an advisor in communication for politicians. But when I decided to no longer advise politicians and become a politician, that was the end of things going well. And what is happening to Francia and what has happened to EPSI and for all women who decided to dispute political power is precisely this terrible strategy that is being put together between the media, social media, bots or trolls who operate, I wrote this down, to murder the political reputation of women. So you might say, wow, Paula, aren't you going a bit overboard? And the answer is no, because murdering the reputation of a political woman is so that she never comes back, so that she can never return, so that you de-incentivize, you're completely de-incentivized. And those things are fully well put together and orchestrated to reduce our political participation. And if there are any lessons that we can share today, dear colleagues, is precisely that. We have to prepare ourselves because, yes, we come from community leaderships, from leaderships in our neighborhood, but we are not taught these strategies that are constructed from politics and communications to de-incentivize political participation. Nobody talks about aesthetics because that's a different thing. And it was mentioned by one of our colleagues, one of our panelists. If you will have representation, then you should straighten your hair. I think that you should not wear all those colors. That is distracting. If your mouth is big, you speak loud, and your hair is an issue, then you should at least try to dress better or comb your hair better. But no, the answer is no. Aesthetics, of course, is political. Our hair is political. And of course, raising our voices is also political. Because, well, that makes them uncomfortable. And we have to vindicate that as well. Because when you ask to speak and you perhaps are a little bit louder, people say, oh, that lady, that's problematic, there's an issue. But no, this is an issue where they haven't even gotten creative. They just repeat exactly the same thing over and over. They meddle with our lives, with our aesthetics, and it's just a textbook situation. EPSI has experienced it. We all have experienced it. And I think that that is something that we have to unlearn and really put it in our manual to be able to know how to face these strategies that are orchestrated to de-incentivize us from participating in politics. I do believe that we have to create a support network, and we have been saying so in the last gatherings, because unfortunately, in many cases, we are acting alone. We are the only or the first to do this. So when you look to one side and you need support, you're completely alone. That is why, dear colleagues, it is not possible to leave any black political woman behind who has decided to take that big step of coming against that patriarchy that is racist and colonial in our region, and we cannot leave them alone. It is time to take politics seriously. And of course we're doing so. But we need support. Nobody can feel alone. Or they cannot believe that they're making decisions that are not right, or that they made a mistake when taking that step. My mother always says, Paola, I sacrificed so much so that you could study. Why didn't you just stay or stick to TV or radio? And I say, Mom, no. Because every time that we meet people who are transforming the world from politics, we know that we did not make a mistake. It was not a mistake. We are headed down the right path. We only need to knit support networks because, of course, they don't even know that this can affect us, but it does. It affects our families. It affects our mental health. And of course, they want to eliminate us, and that, colleagues, we cannot allow. When there is still so much to do, and they will not do so without us. And something else that we should not allow is to be instrumentalized for attacking another colleague. And this is very painful because we have come across colleagues that sometimes, either female or male, that are willing to be used and instrumentalized to weaken powerful leaderships, and this should not happen. That is why the political agenda of black women and our people has to be built collectively. Currently, I'm still the only black representative in my country, and that is also because of how our party system is deformed. They do not want us to be there. They want us in any space except in decision-making spaces. That is why, also going back to one of our panelists and what she said, we have to create our own political tools. In Ecuador, it's a bit more complicated, but in Colombia, it's a bit easier to create political parties and political movements where we can build our agenda, and we can also have allies to be able to achieve this, because unfortunately, this is a reality that we have to face. Getting to power does not always mean changing structures. getting into power does not necessarily mean to be able to govern, because it's very complicated. And for this, we need powerful political tools that come from our own realities. And finally, there is a problem that affects us all, because we do not come from powerful and wealthy families. We do not own the parties. And to fund a campaign for a black woman who has been racialized and who is in poverty becomes a very difficult uphill battle. I'm not sure if that is the case here, but in Ecuador there is a discussion where they wish to eliminate funding political parties. And this is really a drawback, because it would mean that I could not be here if it weren't for public funds. How do we fund our campaigns? How are we able to compete in equal conditions when those who have that economic power are the ones who also have the political power, and we cannot compete with their checkbooks? That is why it is also important to work in the construction of public funding so that we can come into these spaces. Without women, there is no democracy. But we also have to keep in mind that without black women, there is no true democracy. Thank you very much. How are you? Thank you for being here. Thank you, Vice President Francia Marquez, with whom we have shared and grown in our territory, and many common causes connect us. As a black Afro-descendant woman from the northern part of Cauca, I am currently the Secretary of Women in the Governor's Office of Cauca, and I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to share a situation that really brings joy to the department today, and also to Colombia. The news is that our 9 colleagues that were kidnapped for 8 days have been set free. And right now, from that space where we are creating actions for women to be safe, we have their families and the governor giving them this news, and this really fills us with joy, especially me as a woman from Cauca. We're here to share the lessons that we have as black women in decision-making spaces. And I would like to share several of them. And I would like to start with one, which is that in this journey and the experience that life has given us, but it is actually something collective, because it is a collective success, because others opened up the road so that we could be here. And it is now our responsibility to keep opening up pathways for others so that they can continue walking down this journey, and we can prepare the road ahead for new generations. The first lesson is that these scenarios where decisions are made are not scenarios of privilege. They are scenarios that have significant collective responsibility, because when we get here, we bring along the community, our grandmothers, our ancestors. We bring in a sense of care. And we bring in all those recommendations, but also those desires and struggles that we have been living. And it is our job to put it in the public agenda so that those who are in decision making can include them in those public agendas. And we have to make this live in public policies that are specific, so that they're not lost in the imagination of transversalization, so that they're not lost in the imagination of all those women who have that same need of being able to move forward in gender equality, because Afro-descendant women have history that has to be overcome. And this is only possible if there are differential policies. And that is an initial lesson that I have. The second one that I would like to share with you is that it is necessary that sorority of Black women stops being just a discourse and it becomes an action as a strategy of liberation and freedom, a strategy that enables us to embrace ourselves and to create networks for protection with and for ourselves. And of course, help others to also be supported. And I believe that is a need that is visible and clear that we have here in Colombia. A country that is not prepared to see Black women making decisions. It is not prepared to be able to take on and face those topics that others have not been able to put in the public agenda. And in that sense, sorority is the path forward as a tool and strategy to be able to generate transformations. A third lesson that I would like to share from my journey is that it is necessary that as Black women, we are prepared and we also educate ourselves. We get prepared in daily scenarios in our neighborhood, in the defense of human rights, in the defense of women. But we also have to train ourselves and educate ourselves because these decision-making spaces require technical knowledge. And this technical knowledge is necessary so that they no longer question whether we're capable or not, so that they do not keep saying, she's not ready, she's not well educated, so that people stop questioning when we propose topics that have never been in the public agenda that are of our interest. They need to be explained in a technical manner. The fourth lesson is that we have to decide to continue being present in decision-making spaces because girls have to continue seeing others who are just like them. Because if they do not see them, if they do not see us, they will believe that that scenario does not belong to them. And that is very important because that is where we can knit that fabric of freedom. And we all have this big responsibility. And I would like to tell everyone here, girls and women who are present here, do not wait to get permission to come in. And Francia Elena Marquez Mina today is a reference point of what I'm saying. And she has taught us this phrase, which is that we have to have our heart in the right place. And I'll end by saying that I did not get here into these spaces alone. Many of us were able to get here. Those who opened up those pathways before me, those who walk alongside right now, and those who are coming after me. And this is how I started, and I would now like to say that these are not spaces of privilege because we have to have our heart in the right place and we have to bring in the topics related to the community. Francia, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the roads that you have opened up. We're here and we will not back down. Thank you.
Yo quiero
would like to start off with the sentence mentioned by Nasli, which is about thanking Francia, our vice president, who challenged all the elements of hierarchies, patriarchy, racism. And I would like to say, as she mentioned as well, she motivated me to follow this path. This path that is truly complex and difficult. Every day, we have to endure situations that diminish us in these institutions. Francia, thank you, because despite how complex, how difficult, and how hard it is, I've been able to learn a lot. And as Nasli said, it is something that we cannot back down from. We cannot allow those doors to be closed. However, I do have a concern, which is if our place and our being really belongs in that institution, which is an institution that does not move. It is an institution that eliminates us. It always wants to eliminate us, and I do believe that in this journey and this experience, I continue to think that we must, as Black women, we must have our own government. A government that really, truly allows us to rise from our beings, from our proposals. We have a lot of elements. To showcase or rebuild a different society. And everything that we do in our territories every day, we're presenting proposals that are completely different, and are proposals that are not considered in these institutions. So in this journey, I have experienced all sorts of sayings. For example, what you do is useless. I have been limited, and what I do has not been recognized. I have faced many obstacles to be able to achieve things. And these are institutions that every day say that there are other Black people doing things wrong, therefore, what I am doing is also wrong. But nonetheless, what I have proposed and what I have done is resist. And I'm not sure if transforming, but I have at least tried to not be affected by all these expressions that minimize me. And I have also tried to be rooted in the territories. We have tried to build in the territories using our voices, and I do believe that power scenarios are not individual ones, and they must be collectively constructed. We're not there just as individuals, but but we also consider the realities of our people. And we have made proposals such as knitting the territory and recovering hope. How to recover hope in our territory. In terms of how those voices can come into these spaces, knowing that there are others with other proposals and other options. This is what has to do with our own government and having the possibility of being autonomous in territories. And the government and the state ourselves, who are also present and who have fought in these spaces, can also respect those constructions that are happening. And to be able to respect them, I do believe that it is crucial that we know that there is a state that is limiting us and that we cannot let the noise, sometimes you hear the noise out in the territory, that wants to make us believe that we are useless, that we are not able to do things. And those are also conversations that lead us to recognizing what we have done, which is rooted in what we do and what we have learned from our ancestors, and that we embrace from history. I would like to say that I must recognize that sometimes I want to give up and just go back to my Chontaduro cultural initiative, to my territory, and from there do my work, because even though our colleagues say we must not back down, you're not allowed to do so. At those institutions, you not only do you come across being the only face that is representing territories that are full of poverty, but also those territories that face all these obstacles. And this is something that is demotivating. But being in a space like this, in a space where we have faces similar to ours, Black women who are also fighting, so it encourages us, but I do think we have to continue creating those spaces. And sometimes our own people believe this and lash out at us. So it's about creating these spaces of hope, knowing that what happens to one person is not just a way of limiting the vice president or Francia or Vicenta or others, but it's a way of closing the doors for all Black people. For all those who are trying to find different ways for those institutions that kill us and limit us. So if that is the case, it is not possible if we really do not keep coming together and keep crossing borders, not just in Colombia, but in all parts of the world. But like our colleagues have also mentioned, here we are, regardless. Thank you, thank you. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I would like to thank all our panelists for their contributions, for your effort. We know that Black women have transformed the world. We know that we are the key for transforming the world from wherever we are. And even though we do not know what the future has for us, we do have to make those transformations together. So thank you, Vice President Francia and her entire team, and all women and girls who are here. Together, we will succeed. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. We now invite you to please come up for the official photo of this very important panel. This first dialogue space.
Fuerte el aplauso, por favor, para ellas, que a través de su ejemplo nos han guiado por lo que ha significado para ellas como mujeres africanas y afrodescendientes estar, llegar y sostenerse en los espacios y escenarios de poder y de toma de decisión. Gracias a todos ustedes, a todas, a todos por estar. Les quiero contar que en ese
So thank you everybody for being here and participating in this panel. Now it's time for our lunch time. I should give you a couple of recommendations for this. Now, to your left, if you're coming down from the auditorium, we have all our catering logistics so that we can have our lunch. Now, please understand, brothers and sisters, them, they,